along to our first session here on Full-Time. I want to send a shout out, of course, going out to our sponsors, Racecrack Motors. They're down there on Grey Street. Go and check them out. Right, first of all, we welcome, as usual, to our show, Raa Walker, who's sitting, well, I'm not sure exactly whereabouts he's sitting.
Oh, in the sun, Keithy, with a hot cup of java, a hot cup of coffee, just waiting for, the usual kind of talk for this morning. So happy weekend to everybody as we count down, 5 days away from Queen's birthday weekend, I think it is.
Now, he's had a bit of a trip around the South Island, and he returned just the other day back home to Paeroa, where, of course, he resides. We welcome Rino Wilkinson. Morning, bro.
Yeah, morning, boys, and good to be home, like home sweet home. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the trip down the Te Waiponamu. Thoroughly enjoyed the South Island. Tell you what, I'm going back. So, but good to be home.
Indeed, it would be. And also joining us today, he's over there in Toowoomba. We have with us JT, Jason Tawhiwhirangi. Morning, bro.
Yeah, morning, boys. I'll put on a bit of a Toowoomba accent for you. How you guys going this morning, eh? Yeah, they're a little bit different over this way, eh? They talk a bit funny like this, eh? Everything ends in eh?
Oh.
Hey. Yeah, over here for work, boys. And,
Okay, well, excellent stuff. I tell you what, great to have you guys all joining us here once again. Let's get into it, I suppose. We had some great NRL action, didn't we, JT? We started on Thursday night. Panthers up against the Eels.
Yeah, well, let me correct you on that game, mate. That was a bludger of a game.
True that.
A cousin of mine is a staunch Panthers man, Langston Kapua, and he's trying to tell me it was an arm wrestle, it was a battle of attrition. I said, mate, it was two bumbling twits, really. The secret, make the most errors, and whoever made the least errors would win. So less than 60% completion rate for both sides, which goes to show how much of a fumble-a-thon that game was. And the Panthers ending the Eels' unbeaten home run at the new stadium at Bankwest Stadium with a 16 points to 10 victory, and maybe a stay of execution for their coach, Ivan Cleary.
What did you reckon of that game there, Reno?
Yeah, exactly like JT said, mate. Just one of those horrible games, mistakes, and Ivan Cleary didn't seem to say much at the media interview at the end of it as all. Right. Panthers win. I didn't see it coming, but Panthers got the points.
That's very true. Of course, it must have improved a bit more next game, JT? Of course, the Titans and the Sea Eagles.
Yeah, Manly, a team which has really surprised a few critics this year. Basically, based on where they're sitting on the ladder, they're in the top 8. And with the amount of injuries they've had throughout the year, people were expecting them to tumble. But at the start of this game, it looked like they're going to thrash the Titans and blow them away. They jumped out to a nice early lead, and then the Titans, to their credit, clawed their way back on the back of one in particular, which I thought was a dodgy decision. But to their credit, in the second half, they came out and finished the job off. So the Titans, yet another coach, Garth Brennan, with his head on the block, but he might get to stay another week after that result. And a good win for the Titans. I live on the Gold Coast, so I've got a bit of a soft spot for them. And the Gold Coast needs a rugby league side, and so yeah, good comeback from behind victory to the Gold Coast boys.
What did you reckon of that one there, Reno?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the game. I watched the first few minutes of it, and I saw the Sea Eagles jump out to a good start. I thought, here we go. It's going to be a hell of a hiding of the Titans, but Titans, like JT said, turned it around. Ball went their way in a couple of calls there, and some good tries. Good pass out from the man that's been talked about, the $1 million man. Massive pass out. They got to the winger and he got into the corner. Showed a bit of brilliance, the Titans, when they can play, and they deserve the win over the injury team. So 36-18, that's a good win for the Titans.
Right, well, it was a really good, another good game was last night with, of course, the Knights. They look like they're starting to turn things around there, JT?
Yeah, mate, a funny start to the Knights for their season. So in 11 games, they had one win, lost 5 in a row, and they've won the next 5 in a row. So I don't know what's going on next one. I don't know. But, speaking of coaches that have been in trouble but have managed to turn it around, Nathan Brown at Newcastle has turned the side around, and for some reason they seem to have found a bit of form. And albeit against a slightly weakened Roosters side without the likes of Cooper Cronk and co. But they lost Luke Keary very early. But, mate, you cannot fault the Knights' passion last night. I think the passion of the way they played, the passion of their home crowd especially got them across the line, and they really lifted last night, and they looked like world beaters. And yeah, the Roosters are probably my least favourite team, so it's good to see them get beaten. And old cuzzy bro Jared Waidea-Hargreaves, he walked a thin line, and I thought he was a bit lucky not to get further sanctions. Try saying that, sanctions. Not to get some further punishment against them for the little late hit on for little Quinton Pongia, which took him off the field. But yeah, mate, good result for the Knights, and also a good result for the competition. Keeps the Roosters at bay. And I've got guys in the rugby union fans telling me, mate, the NRL competition this year is wide open. It's not so much an open and cut sort of a deal with the Roosters or the Storm and the Rabbitohs. Maybe 6 teams now they're looking like they could possibly win it on their day. And the Knights last night, mate, they were fantastic with a couple of ex-Roosters players to the fore, Connor Watson and the much maligned Mitchell Pearce leading the way. I thought the Island boys, there's a couple of them there, in particular Sione Matoti has been with Newcastle side for a long, long time. He came off the bench and was absolutely smashing in the defence. Another one of the Warriors let go, James Gavitt. He ran hard and tackled hard, and Big Davey Clemmer ran for over 200 metres as well. So, yeah, good result for the Knights and a great result for the competition.
They certainly have turned things around, haven't they, Reno? What did you think of that game?
Mate, loved that game. Any team that topples the Roosters deserves a win. And like JT said, the Knights just right through the whole pack of players that are right to the mark. Mitchell Pearce at number 7, just breakthrough. So there's Quinton Pongia, speed and the step to burn, got himself, and just was part of overall. They are stepping up to the mark, and at this vital time where teams will be, splitting, leaving players to go to Origin duty. These points are much needed, and a win over the Roosters is a good win. It was a good game, mate. Even the Eagles-Titans game last night, then what a way to start.
Indeed, it was quite a way. Now, of course, we've got the Raiders Cowboys on later on today. There, JT, what do you reckon?
Just before I get into that, Keith, I got a text from my son last night because he put $50 to get those 3 results. And
what?
Paying $40 for the Panthers, the Titans, and the Knights to win. So, the same little fella that came and beat you guys at poker,
yes.
that son of mine. $45, and old numbnuts has put $50 on him. So guess what he's collected last night?
Well, I would say it'll be a pretty healthy sum, that's for sure there, JT.
Maybe you can start paying rent now. $2,150.
Wow.
Near the end of the night, he goes, mate, because he's sitting there, picture of the ticket, he goes, get a load of this, mate. Get a load of this, mate. Good on him, well done. So, yeah.
Well done.
To the Raiders Cowboys. Well, who knows after the first 3 games, mate. The Raiders should win, but the Cowboys are a chance.
Yeah.
I'll go the Raiders. Warriors, Broncos. Warriors on a bit of an up. Broncos also on a bit of an up, so it could be a tough one. It'll probably be the closest game of the round, I think. But maybe the Warriors home. The Rabbits, Tigers. Well, I'm going to go the upset here. In keeping with what's happened, the Tigers, I think, will beat the Rabbits. The Storm, well, I'll always beat the Storm no matter what. Will beat the Bulldogs. And the local derby, the Dragons and the Sharks. And that's another tough one. The Dragons are on all sorts, so I'll go with the Sharks.
What do you reckon there, Reno, about the remaining games? Let's have your take on it, eh?
Well, yeah. If you go by the first 3 games, well, anything's possible. Okay, I'll go Raiders, Warriors, Rabbits, Bulldogs upset, and the Sharks.
Would you put $50 on it, bro? Hey, willing to put $50 on it?
Nah.
Well, it'll be interesting. I think it'll be an interesting game with the Raiders. We discussed this, JT, Wednesday. Of course, the Raiders, having lost, one of their stalwarts from back in the years, Quinton Pongia, I think, that would, maybe lift put a bit of spirit in them. And I remember seeing on this morning you had posted what Bradley Clyde had said about Quinton Pongia, which I think would probably have a little bit of an effect, at least on those Raiders players. What do you reckon?
Well, you'd like to think so. Even the way he played the game, there was no quarter given. There was no, he'd ask the question. If he didn't have the answer, he'd go right through you. And a very sad loss, obviously, for his family and for the wider rugby league community in general. So if the Raiders can play with a bit of the passion that Hugh used to play for, then they should get a win there. But there's a couple of key players missing, especially that left-hand edge with Leilua and Jordan Rapana, and also the Englishman John Bateman, which leaves a couple of big holes. But if they can play with the passion that Newcastle seemed to muster last night, then anything's possible. And down there in Canberra, very, very hard to beat. So hopefully they can put in a solid effort for Quinton Pongia. Rest in peace, Jan.
And one of the things because I remember what Bradley Clyde had to say about him, and he was just a quiet, sort of a guy, really, I suppose. But when it comes to standing up and showing a bit of leadership, he certainly was one to do that, wasn't he?
Especially the story he tells about when he goes to the pub full of bikers.
Okay.
he certainly gave them more than he got. So, typical of a lot of. I mean, the three. I'll say the four most. I don't know, not unquiet, most big mouth Māori fellas I know is us four. So but yeah, by comparison, obviously Quinton was a very quiet and kept his cards close to his chest, I guess, so to speak. But once he crossed that white line, it's on for young and old, and he certainly left a legacy in the game amongst his contemporaries, his fellow players. And to get raps like that from Bradley Clyde, Bradley Clyde, in my opinion, is the best number 13 I've ever seen play the game. And for him to say what he said about not only Quinton but also about Johnny Lomax when they were looking for players and turned up with those two, rough diamonds, and they ended up, winning the grand final that year. So yeah, mate, very sad story.
Of course, the Raiders, the Canberra Raiders have had a lot of classy players, and of course Bradley Clyde played alongside, who was there? Laurie Daly. He played alongside
Mel Meninga.
Yes, Mel Meninga. Chika Ferguson, yes.
Each of them, even the old captain Dean Lance was an old stalwart, big solid defender at the middle.
Yeah.
So they side there, and Chris O'Sullivan, even the lesser lights, Paulie Martin on the wing. They had a great side and well coached by Tim Sheens. If you look through the ranks of the coaches that have come out since then, they've all had something to do with Tim Sheens. Craig Bellamy played under him.
Right.
Played under him. So a lot of influence from Tim Sheens, which has been passed down to coaches today. Ricky Stewart, another one.
Yeah, Ricky Stewart, absolutely. I mean, you'd remember a lot of that, back in those days too, Rino?
Yeah, there was the Green Machine that had a love with so many fans here in Aotearoa. For some, they got the early introductory cut back in the day. The boisterous of Graham Hughes in the commentary, everyone loved him. He was so loud. But when everyone watched the Green Machine in the final, up against the Doggy members, obviously Mel Meninga pushing off Jared McCoy during that final, Chika Ferguson and the Green Machine up against the Penny Panthers scoring tries. And that was the big stronghold, because I think most of New Zealand either loved Parramatta Eels as one team back in the early years, Manly Sea Eagles, but then this mean Green Machine come along and everyone had the Aussie with Video Easy or the Milk Company on at the line round. So, yeah, mate, I remember that team. Fond memories of their team, and they were dominant back in the day. And as big as Mel was out there in the centres, as classy as they were a class act. They were the class act of that early era when you put them into the perspective of the Broncos